All right, please be seated. All right, cross-examination.
Good afternoon, Mr. Banya.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Banya, you understand that this case is about the op-ed in December 2018, correct?
I understand this case to be about the allegations of domestic abuse, both as it relates to the 2016 and the republication of that in the 2018 Washington Post op-ed.
You understand that Mr. Depp is only suing Amber about the op-ed from December 2018, correct?
My understanding is, I can base my understanding on my analysis, which includes the 2016 allegations of
That's
abuse.
your analysis, but do you understand what Mr. Depp is suing Amber for in this case?
Objection, Your Honor, to the extent it calls for a legal conclusion.
All right, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Did you read the complaint in this case?
Yes.
Did you understand that Mr. Depp was only suing for the op-ed, about the op-ed?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Depp was not suing Amber in this case from his complaint about the accusation she made in 2016, correct?
That is my understanding.
And you're not able to separate out how Mr. Depp's reputation was impacted from the op-ed in 2018 versus how it was impacted when Ms. Heard filed for divorce in 2016, correct?
That is not correct.
Okay. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Banya, you took a deposition in this case,
Yes, I did.
and I was asking you the questions in that case. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And you took that deposition on March 21st, 2022?
That is correct.
Okay. And you were under oath at the time, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you're under oath to tell the truth, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Can you turn to page 83 of your transcript, which is on the 21st page of the...
I'm here?
Okay, and you see line 9?
Yes.
And I asked you, are you able to separate out how Mr. Depp's reputation was impacted from the op-ed versus how it was impacted by when Ms. Heard filed for divorce? And your answer was no, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you're not able to separate out how Mr. Depp's reputation was impacted from the op-ed in 2018 versus the publicity surrounding when Mr. Depp sued the Sun newspaper in the United Kingdom when a Sun writer called Mr. Depp a wife beater, correct?
Are you still reading from my deposition?
No, I'm asking you a question now.
Please repeat that.
You're not able to separate out how Mr. Depp's reputation was impacted from the op-ed in 2018 versus the publicity surrounding when Mr. Depp sued the Sun newspaper in the United Kingdom when a Sun writer called Mr. Depp a wife beater.
Objection, compound, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You're not able to separate out how Mr. Depp's reputation was impacted from the op-ed in 2018 versus the publicity surrounding when Mr. Depp sued the Sun newspaper in the United Kingdom, correct?
My analysis shows that the web documents that I reviewed after the 2018 allegations.
Respectfully, this is a yes or no.
got
This is a yes or no question.
Please repeat the question.
You're not able to separate out how Mr. Depp's reputation was impacted from the op-ed in 2018 versus the publicity surrounding when Mr. Depp sued the Sun newspaper in the United Kingdom.
That was not part of my analysis to carve that out.
And you didn't. You were not able to separate it, correct?
I didn't try to.
Okay, and so you couldn't.
I didn't try it.
Okay. And you understand that the article Mr. Depp sued the Sun over had the headline that said, "How can J.K. Rowling be genuinely happy casting wife beater Johnny Depp in the new Fantastic Beasts film," correct?
I don't recall if that's one of the articles I reviewed.
Do you know if that article came out before Ms. Heard's op-ed?
I don't know.
Now, you're not offering an opinion as to how the op-ed from Ms. Heard in December 2018 impacted Mr. Depp's career, correct?
Repeat that, please.
You're not offering an opinion as to how the op-ed from Ms. Heard in December 2018 impacted Mr. Depp's career.
Correct.
Okay. And you're not offering an opinion as to how the op-ed from Ms. Heard in December 2018 impacted Mr. Depp's reputation.
What I'm doing is
It's a yes or no. Are you offering an opinion to that or not?
My opinion is related to his public image.
You're not offering an opinion as to how the op-ed from Ms. Heard in December 2018 impacted Mr. Depp's reputation, correct?
I'm not talking exactly about his reputation, correct?
And you're not offering an opinion as to how the op-ed from Ms. Heard in December 2018 impacted Mr. Depp's public image, correct?
I'm offering an opinion that after the 2018,
It's a yes or
his
no,
public
sir.
image.
It's a yes or no. You're not offering an opinion as to how the op-ed from Ms. Heard in December 2018 impacted Mr. Depp's public image.
I am.
Turn to your deposition transcript, please. And if you go to page 74, which is on page 19. And you see line, are you there?
Yes.
You see line 1, starting on line 1. I asked you, and you're not going to testify how the December 2018 op-ed impacted Mr. Depp's public image. Answer, that's correct. That was your testimony at the time, correct?
Well,
That was
Johnny
your answer
Depp's
at the time, correct?
perception is
Sir,
a
that
negative
was your answer at the
perception.
time, correct?
Okay. Yes.
And that was your answer on March 21st, 2022, correct?
Yes, the date of the deposition.
So that was a month and a half ago,
Right.
correct? Okay. And you're not offering an opinion as to whether the op-ed from Ms. Heard made Mr. Depp more hireable or less hireable, correct?
Correct.
Okay. As to the articles that came up in the Google searches that you spoke about, it was you made the determination whether the articles had a, quote, negative connotation or not, right?
Correct.
And so that's just your view if an article had a negative connotation about Mr. Depp, right?
Yes, that's my opinion that they had a negative connotation.
Right. So if an article criticizes Mr. Depp's acting, for example, you're not considering that article as having a negative connotation about Mr. Depp, correct?
Repeat that, please.
So if an article criticizes Mr. Depp's acting, you're not considering that article as having a negative connotation about Mr. Depp, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, in your analysis of Google spikes, the highest spike in searches for Mr. Depp was in January 2004, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and I guess you guys have it. Can you put up the demonstrative 1236? It's published. And can you see that, Mr.
Yes.
Van? Can we make it just a little bit bigger? Okay. So if I'm understanding you correctly, A is where the most searches were conducted for Johnny Depp, correct?
Correct.
And that's from January 2004, correct?
Correct.
So that was 18 years ago?
Correct.
Okay. And that was when Ms. Heard was 18 years old?
I don't know.
Okay. The top spike you mark as 100, correct?
I did not mark that, but Google Trends identified that spike as 100.
And where it says 100, you don't know how many people actually searched for Johnny Depp at that point, correct?
Well, the Google Trends algorithm marks the highest point of search as 100, and then everything is compared to that as a ratio or a percent. So if you notice that A is 100, everything else is lower than that because everything is being compared to that highest point.
Right, so you don't know how many people actually did the search for Johnny Depp in January 2004, correct?
Correct.
could be 100 or it could be 1 million, right?
I don't know.
And you don't know if it's actually human beings doing these searches, correct?
As opposed to
bots or something like that.
I did not do an analysis to determine if it's a bot or a human being, but Google Trends is a tool that's going to show you during a time frame the highest point of search interest as 100.
Okay. But you don't know if it's humans, bots, my cat doing the searches, correct?
Objection asked and answered, Your Honor.
Sustained. Next question.
Now, in all of these Google spikes, Ms. Heard's op-ed never came up as one of the top 3 searches in any of the Google spikes, correct?
Well, that is correct because Google Trends is based on a search of a word or a name. And because Mr. Depp's name was not mentioned in that op-ed, Google Trends did not pick that up.
So a person does a search for Johnny Depp and the op-ed doesn't come up, correct?
In my analysis, the op-ed did not come up.
Okay. And in fact, the red dotted line all the way to the right, that shows when the op-ed was published on December 18th, 2018, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the searches are actually going down right after the red line, correct?
As opposed to the searches in 2004?
Look at the red line, look at the red dotted line, and you have two points here, right there. Those go down from the time of the op-ed, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And isn't it true that the next, I guess, spike happens in March of 2019, correct? Right there.
Yes.
And do you know that it was March of 2019 when Mr. Depp sued Amber Heard in this case?
No, I didn't look at that date.
Right. You didn't look at any articles for this bullet, correct?
That's correct.
And since Ms. Heard's op-ed came out on December 18th, 2018, you would agree with me that by definition, all the spikes you analyzed before December 18, 2018 could not have been caused by the op-ed, right?
Correct.
So articles about Mr. Depp's drug use before December 2018 could not have been caused by the op-ed, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you, in this chart, analyze only 2 spikes after the op-ed, isn't that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And the first spike you analyzed after December 2018 is V, correct?
Yes.
And is that January 2020?
Roughly, yes.
Okay. So that's January 2020 is over a year after the op-ed by Ms. Heard, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And then the next spike you analyzed was T, correct?
Yes.
And that was in approximately July 2020?
Correct.
Okay, so that was a year and a half after Ms. Heard's op-ed, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And again, none of the articles, and then for V and T, if I understand it, you then analyze the top 3 searches that came up, or the top 3 websites that came up after a search?
Correct.
Okay. And none of the articles you analyzed in those Google spikes after the op-ed were the op-ed, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And isn't it true that the headlines of the articles over a year after the op-ed that you analyzed were about Mr. Depp suing the Sun in the UK for a Sun writer calling Mr. Depp a wife beater?
You would have to pull those articles back up. I don't have those in front of me.
Isn't it true that the article, and just so I understand it, V and T, that would mean there were 6 articles, correct, that you analyzed?
Yes.
Okay. And isn't it true that the article on February 26, 2020, the headline was, quote, Johnny Depp's disturbing alleged text messages read aloud in court as libel lawsuit begins?
Again, I don't have that article in front of me. I did produce those as part of my analysis. I don't have that in front of me, if you'd like to show it to me.
And you understand that that was about the lawsuit against the Sun in the UK, not about the op-ed, correct?
Again, I did not have that in front of me.
And another article that came up on February 27th, 2020 is one of the top 3 hits when you search for Johnny Depp. What the headline was, quote, "Let's burn Amber, texts allegedly sent by Johnny Depp about X read in court."
I mean, if you want to talk about these articles, we need to bring them up.
This is your opinion. You don't recall what articles you analyzed?
I mean, there's a lot of articles here. I didn't memorize each title.
There were 6 articles that you
Okay.
analyzed in the almost 2 years after the op-ed.
All right, can you bring those up and we can talk about them?
And on July 19th, 2020, the headline was, quote, "Hollywood nervously awaits fallout from explosive Johnny Depp trial." You don't recall one way or the other whether that was one of the articles in either V or T?
Again, I know if you want to bring up my documents, I know document 9J, 9O, 9K, and 9M are mentioning the op-ed. Again, I don't have those in front of me.
And when you say mentioning the op-ed, does that mean that it just references that Mr. Depp sued Amber Heard in Fairfax?
No, it talks about how he's alleged to have abused her as it relates to the op-ed.
Doesn't it say, I mean, another headline from July 19th, 2020, the headline was, quote, "Hollywood nervously awaits fallout from explosive Johnny Depp trial"?
Objection asked and answered.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
You understood that was about the lawsuit against the Sun in the UK, correct?
Objection asked and
I
answered.
didn't ask about that.
Overruled.
Again, I would like to talk about these articles, but I need to see them.
And on July 19th, 2020, the headline was, quote, "Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, all the nasty bits of the UK trial, and it's all nasty." That was in point T, correct?
Again, I do not have that list in front of me. If you'd like to bring that up, we could talk about it.
And you understood that was about the lawsuit against the Sun in the UK, correct?
I do not.
And on July 19th, 2020, the headline was, quote, "Johnny Depp claims in the Sun he beat ex-wife, complete lies, court told." That was the quote, correct?
I don't see that here.
That was in your report, correct?
I would have to look at the documents again. I would be happy to discuss them if you would bring those up.
And then you previously had a chart that had articles from November 2020, correct?
I'm sorry, say that?
You previously had a chart that included articles from November 2020, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach on
Okay,
it?
sure.
You understood it was Mr. Depp's decision to sue the Sun, correct?
I don't know. That's not part of my analysis.
Now, you talked about Q scores in your direct testimony, correct?
Correct.
And you testified about 3 particular Q scores for Mr. Depp, right?
3 periods of time are the Q scores that I analyzed.
And you're not offering an opinion as to why Mr. Depp's Q scores changed, correct?
That's correct.
And Q scores can go up and down for actors for any sort of reason, correct?
That's possible.
You recall testifying that they could go up and down for any sort of reason in your deposition.
Yeah, they can go up and down for many different reasons.
So you're not offering an opinion that Mr. Depp's Q scores were damaged because of Ms. Heard's op-ed, correct?
That's correct.
And in comparing the Q scores from before the op-ed to the Q scores after the op-ed, Mr. Depp's Q scores dropped by 2 points, correct?
I don't have those Q scores in front of me, but if you're looking at them, I believe.
We can show the 3rd page of this demonstrative.
What was your question, please?
Mr. Depp's positive Q scores from B to C dropped by 2 points, correct?
Yes.
You're not an expert on statistics, correct?
Correct.
And even though you're not an expert, you have an idea about what the term statistically significant means, correct?
Yes.
And statistical significance is a measure of whether your findings are meaningful, right?
Yes, I don't think you need statistics to understand Q-scores.
And you don't know if there's any significance to a drop in 2 points in positive Q-score, correct?
Well, there absolutely is. When you're ordering Q-scores on points in time.
Mr. Banya, go to your deposition, page 113, which is on 29.
Okay.
At 10, page 113, line 10, it says, so you're not offering an opinion as to the significance of a change in Q-score, correct? Answer, correct.
Well, you're talking about statistically a difference. What I'm talking about is how we use Q-scores in the industry. When you see a Q-score dropping from a 31 to a 29, there's an issue. Is this somebody you really want to hire to endorse your products or your service? No, you probably not. You want to look into why, what is going on in the public to make these Q-scores drop like that.
And you don't know exactly the significance between 5 or 6 points of drop in Q-score, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, and it shows here that Mr. Depp's negative Q-score actually got better from point B to point C, correct?
Correct.
So that's actually better for Mr. Depp, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you understand that Dr. Alan Jacobs reviewed your opinions in this case?
Yes.
And you understand that Dr. Jacobs reviewed additional Q-score data, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can we please put up Plaintiff's Exhibit 889 at 117? Mr. Banya, do you understand this as a chart of Mr. Depp's Q scores from winter 2012 through summer of 2021?
Yes.
Do you have any reason to question the Q scores that are shown in this chart?
Like I said in my deposition, I've not received the actual data to build this chart, but I don't have any reason to not believe that this is accurate.
As I understand it, Q scores are performed on a celebrity like Mr. Depp twice a year, correct?
Yes.
So there's winter of a particular year, and then there's summer of a particular year?
Yes.
And the winter scores come out around February, is that right?
I don't have that information in front of me, but it sounds right.
And so would you know when the summer scores come out?
I don't.
Okay. And this chart shows, well, permission to publish this chart as a demonstrative, Your Honor.
Any objection?
I don't think this witness has laid an appropriate foundation for it, Your Honor.
He said he has no reason to question the Q scores.
I'll allow it as a demonstrative. That's fine.
And so this chart shows Mr. Depp's positive and negative Q scores, correct?
Correct.
And the positive Q scores are in blue.
That's correct.
Can you blow it up a little bit, Michelle? And the negative Q scores are in red?
Yes.
Okay.
Objection, Your Honor, may we approach for a
Yes.
moment?
Mr. Banya, the positive Q score for Mr. Depp in the winter of 2012 is 42, correct?
It's in between. Yeah, it's in between 40 and 45.
Okay. And did you check the actual Q scores that Mr. Jacobs demonstrated in his report?
No, my analysis was a snapshot of time. I wanted to know Johnny Depp's Q scores directly before the 2012 allegations, the 2016 allegations of abuse, and after.
Okay. And you see here that the positive Q scores for Mr. Depp dropped from 42 in the winter of 2012 to 35 in the summer of 2016, correct?
Yes.
That's a 7-point drop, correct?
Yes.
And that's before Ms. Heard had her divorce filing, correct?
That's correct.
And that drop in Mr. Depp's positive Q scores could have nothing to do with Ms. Heard's op-ed, correct?
Correct.
And that drop could have nothing to do with the allegations Ms. Heard made after the divorce filing, correct?
Correct.
And would you agree that the positive Q scores actually start to show an increase for Mr. Depp after the op-ed? There's a decrease and then there's an increase?
Yep.
And the same for the negative Depp Q scores. There's a bit of a positive and then it goes down, correct?
Yes.
So really the op-ed had no effect on Mr. Depp's Q scores, correct?
As I mentioned, my analysis looked at the snapshot of time, and it shows that he was harmed, from before the allegations of abuse in 16 to after the op-ed in 2018.
You looked at 3 Q scores, and you could have looked at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I won't even count the 2021 scores. 18 Q scores, correct?
Yep.
Okay. And you looked at 3, right?
That's correct.
And that's what you're basing your opinion on, that the op-ed damaged Mr. Depp's Q scores?
Yeah, so what we need to
That's my
understand is Q scores
my question is a
do
yes or
go
no.
up
Your
and
counsel
down.
can come back and ask
what
you whatever you
I
want.
wanted to do
Your
is
Honor.
I wanted to
Sir,
analyze.
sir, if you could just answer his yes or no
Oh,
question.
sorry.
That's fine.
I didn't hear your question.
You looked at 3 Q scores instead of 18 Q scores, correct?
That's correct.
And did you look at the Q scores at all after the Dan Wooten article that came out in April of 2018?
Objection, asked and answered, Your Honor.
I don't think I asked that.
Overruled, I'll allow it.
No.
Okay. Thank you. I have nothing further.
All right, redirect.
Mr. Banya, on cross-examination, you were asked some questions about the fact that you made a determination about which of these articles had a negative connotation. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Is that something that you do in situations other than in your analysis in this case?
Yeah. So in non-litigation, when we're building brand monetization strategies, and especially if you're going to work with a celebrity or an athlete, you want to look at what's going on out there, about that personality. Because celebrities and athletes, Q scores can go up and down. You want to analyze the time and see what's going on out in the media. Do I really want my client to license in a celebrity that there's problems out there, or an athlete? So yes, it's important to look at this.
And I believe you were asked whether you're offering an opinion in this case about the impact of the op-ed on Mr. Depp's public image. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And I believe you testified that you are offering an opinion on that. Is that right?
Yes.
What's that opinion?
Well, the opinion is that he's portrayed in a negative connotation after that date.
And with respect to the Q scores that you analyzed, Mr. Nadelhoff was asking you about the 3 points in time that you looked at. Why, in your opinion, was it appropriate to look at just those 3 Q scores?
Yeah, as I was trying to explain, Q scores do go up and down. We're analyzing a period of time. We want to see what's happening right before an event during that event and if there's another event after that event. And that is our area of analysis. So that's why just these 3 sets of Q scores are the appropriate way to analyze this.
Thank you. I have nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, is this witness subject to recall?
He is, Your Honor.
All right, sir, do not discuss your testimony with anybody since you are subject to recall, but since you are an expert, you are allowed to stay in the courtroom if you wish, okay?
Okay,
All right,
thank you,
sir.
Your
All right, you can step down. Thank you. All right, your next witness.
Your Honor, I believe we're calling Aaron Filati.